Hey, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Happy Monday. It's Cindy Baker, ADHD productivity coach. And I'm going to bring you some tips um, for how to navigate if you have ADHD in the workplace, what all the different issues are, and different things that you can do about it. So, um, if you're jumping on live, if you could say hi in the chat, that would be awesome. Just let me know that you're here. Um, and if you're watching the replay, let me know whatever platform you're watching this on. Um, I I just mentioned last week I did a challenge, a chaos to control challenge, and I've opened up some spots in my coaching program. So if you are interested in ADHD coaching, a group coaching program, please reach out to me. We can connect on Zoom, and I'll uh, find out what your issues are and see if there's a way I can help. So just make sure you reach out and let me know you're interested in talking about coaching. So the symptoms of ADHD can create a lot of challenges, right, for people in the workplace, just like they do for kids at school. And some adults with ADHD have very successful careers, but others struggle. They struggle with a variety of challenges like poor communication skills, um, getting distracted easily, procrastination, and difficulty managing complex projects. So that's why ADHD coaching is so valuable. So if you are struggling at work, I can help you, whether it's me or maybe you talk to a therapist or some other um, ADHD coach. Just reach out and get some help. It really does help you understand and cope with ADHD in the workplace. So everybody with ADHD is a different set of challenges. So it's important to consider your unique situation. So when you go about designing strategies, that's one of the things that I do in my coaching program is I try to individualize strategies to people's specific situations. So any kind of accommodations, modifications that you need for the workplace, you'll need to think about your specific situation. So I'm going to share with you some suggestions for coping with different things that come up in the workplace. And I do want to say up front, I already talk about a lot of these things, but I got this specific list from CHAD, the organization. So the first thing that people think of when they think of ADHD is distractibility. Um, you've got problems with external distractions like noises and movements in the surrounding environment. And then internal as well, your own thoughts, you're going off on a tangent, you're racing thoughts, your daydreams. That can be the biggest challenge for adults with ADHD. So, if at all possible, request a private office or a quiet cubicle. Um, Cutting out on those noise distractions will really help you. That's not always possible, but you can always ask. Take work home or work when others are not in the office. I know some people get in really early in order to have do deep concentration stuff when there's nobody else there and they can concentrate. You can use white noise earphones. I love white noise. I think it's great. Excuse me. Classical music or other sounds to like drown out office noises. Don't listen to music that has lyrics because your brain is gonna switch back and forth from trying to listen to the lyrics to doing what you're supposed to be doing. Work in an unused space like a conference room if you need to get away from distractions, and route calls directly to voicemail. That way you can set a time every day to respond to phone calls, and you're not going to be um, just immediately reacting every time the phone rings. And when ideas come in your head, like jot down ideas in a notebook. I keep a little notebook with me, and that way you're not interrupting your current task and you know you can come back to it later. Keep a list of ideas that come to you during meetings so you can communicate more effectively, and really try to do one thing at a time. Don't start a new task until you finish the current one. I know that's easier said than done, but some of those things will help with distractions. The other thing you think of when you think of ADHD is impulsivity. Adults with ADHD may struggle with being impulsive, and they may have outbursts in the workplace. So uh, th there's not a magic wand to fix that, but learn to use a self-talk to monitor your impulsive actions. You, if you're working with me as a coach, we could role play appropriate responses to frustrating situations. But you'll want to think about, what are you going to say in your head when you're starting to feel those feelings come up, and ask for regular constructive feedback as a way of becoming like more aware of how impulsive um, or how that impulsivity might manifest in you. Um, you know, you hear this all the time, but practice relaxation and meditation techniques. Now, I don't mean that weird woo-woo stuff. I just mean things like deep breathing. Relax your shoulders, raise them up, and then let them relax, and do the deep breathing. It keeps your brain from going off on all these tangents, and you're more aware of the present moment. Anticipate the problems that regularly trigger impulsive reactions, and then develop routines for coping with those situations. Um, and along with being impulsive, the H in ADHD is hyperactivity. And adults with the hyperactive presentation of ADHD, they really do better in jobs that allow a great deal of movement, like sales. So if you have a sedentary job, you'll need um, to take breaks. You need to take intermittent breaks, like get up and go to the copy machine like a million times, go to the mailroom, walk to the water fountain, make sure you're getting movement in. Take notes in meetings to prevent restlessness. Uh, um, Always have a pen and paper and be ready, or your computer. Move around, exercise, take a walk, run up and down the stairs. Bring lunch instead of going out to buy it. So the lunch hour can be maybe a time that you go for a walk. But you'll need to incorporate movement in order to really thrive with your ADHD in the workplace. Now, another thing that happens is poor memory. Failing to remember deadlines and other responsibilities, that really drives your coworkers crazy, especially if you're working on a team. And so we, because I have ADHD as well, have poor working memory, which is just the short term. So try taping things or taking really good notes at meetings. Write checklists for complicated tasks. Use a bulletin board or a computer reminder list for announcements and other like memory triggers. And if you're not using a planner, you need to learn how to use a day planner. You need to keep it with you and keep track of tasks and events, and look at it all the time. People always ask me, what's the best planner? And I say the best planner is the one you're going to use. There is no use getting some fancy, thing with all the bells and whistles if you're not going to use it. So write notes on sticky pads and put them in a really visible place where you're going to see it. All those kind of things that you need to do. If I get an email that I'm supposed to do something, I'll write it on a sticky and put it on my desk, so that I won't forget, because that email will get lost in the shuffle. Um, And our brains, ADHD brains, have a strong need for stimulation. And a lot of adults with ADHD get easily bored at work, especially if it's something like detailed paperwork, routine tasks. So, to prevent boredom, you might want to try a couple things. You could set a timer to stay on task, break up big tasks into shorter ones. I always teach this to my coaching clients. Take a big task, chop it up into little bite-sized chunks, schedule mini deadlines, and work on it a little piece at a time. Take breaks, drink water, get up, walk around. Maybe you need to change jobs. Find a job with stimulating responsibilities and minimal routine tasks, if at all possible. You can also like make a game out of things. How many papers can I process in X amount of time? Now, another big issue with people with ADHD is time management problems. That can be a real challenge for adults with ADHD. And there's a lot of different things that you could do. That I just did a challenge last week, and I gave lots of good information out about ADHD friendly time management. Now those replays are down now, but I'll give you just one or two little tips here. Use timeline charts to break these large projects into smaller pieces, and then have step-by-step due dates. And reward yourself. When you get to each due date, give yourself a small little reward to keep you going. Use, if you have a watch that has alarms or buzzers or planner, use that. You always use your planner. It can be digital or paper. And program your computer to beep 5 minutes before every meeting on the calendar, like to give you a little reminder. Avoid overscheduling the day by overestimating how long each task and meeting will take, because we're really bad about underestimating how long something will take to do. So always add in that padding. And procrastination is an issue in the workplace for a lot of people, but especially ADHD. Putting things off, it just prevents completion of tasks, but it also creates problems for others on the team. You're not just hurting yourself when you're procrastinating. So, in addition to breaking the tasks into small pieces and rewarding yourself for meeting each little mini deadline, it might be helpful to have a coach or somebody else that you can report to and be accountable for achieving each piece of the task. And you don't have to have big rewards. It could be, walking your dog, I don't know, listen to a song you like, dancing around. I don't know. But, until you learn to overcome those tendencies to procrastinate, working with a coach can really be helpful. And you can ask your supervisor to set a deadline for tasks, or ask them when do they want things done by, so that you have, it instills a little bit of urgency. If you get to pick your teammates, work on a team with a coworker that manages time well, and that will help you, and you can mimic what they're doing. Planning is kind of an issue. It kind of goes along with time management, but ADHD people have difficulty managing long-term projects. So, in fact, at work, that may be one of the hardest organizational challenges, because it requires a bunch of different skills. You got to have time management, organizing materials, tracking progress, communicating accomplishments. There's so many moving parts. So always break projects up into manageable small parts with reward for completing each part. And then strive to shorten the time allowed on a project. So you can, how you like to work at the last minute and sprint and get things done. It just lights a fire under you sometimes. If you're working with a coach, ask the coach to assist you in, long-term planning, tolerating longer and longer projects a bit at a time. If there's somebody else on your team with good organizational skills, always try to be on their team. And look for work that requires only short-term tasks if you just really can't handle long-term planning. Now, the other thing I hear, and we just did a training in my group coaching program about this, is paperwork and the details, the inability to find important papers, turn in reports and timesheets, maintain a filing system. It makes people think that you're just being careless, but that's probably not the issue. So if paperwork is a significant part of your job, try, making it a rule to handle each piece of paper only one time. You can ask an administrative assistant to handle detailed paperwork for you if possible, but keep only the papers that are currently in use and purge the rest. File, throw them away. Have filing by color coding folders and use catchy labels. All of that can help. And at work, most people get fired because they can't get along with people. They don't have good emotional intelligence. So interpersonal social skill things, people with ADHD struggle sometimes with that. They might unintentionally offend coworkers by interrupting too often or talking too much or being too blunt. I've been accused of that. Not listening well. So social skills are a challenge. Ask others for feedback, especially if there's a history of problems with colleagues and supervisors, because you're going to need to learn to pick up on social cues more readily. And some adults with ADHD have a hard time picking up like nonverbal cues. They don't realize that they're angering a coworker or a supervisor. So those are some things that you'll need to work on. Work with a coach. Again, in my coaching program, we deal with some of that kind of stuff, but you want to figure out what kind of settings lead to those issues for you. And, if working with people is always a challenge, maybe you need a position with greater autonomy. That's something that you might want to take a look at. Now, there are a couple of laws, the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Those are two federal laws that prohibit workplace discrimination if you have a disability. So there's three areas that they prohibit discrimination in: employment by the executive branch of the federal government, employment by most federal government contractors, and activities funded by federal subsidies or grants. So, if that's something that you are thinking about, you want to do a little research on that. State and local governments, places of public accommodation, like most private schools, higher education institutions. It's important to understand that being diagnosed with ADHD, it doesn't automatically make a person eligible for protection or accommodations under those laws. But but it might apply to some people who are listening to this. If you are a person who has ADHD and you're otherwise qualified for the position with or without reasonable accommodations, if you're excluded from employment just because you have ADHD, you might have a case. So a lot more we could say about laws and all that kind of stuff, but it's up to you whether you disclose whether or not you have ADHD. Because sometimes when you say you have ADHD, that's when the discrimination starts. So you have to think about that. If you don't need accommodations and you're doing okay on your job, it might be better not to say anything. But if you think you're going to lose your job because you haven't received the accommodations that you need to succeed, or if you're about to be fired because of performance issues, it's possible to request accommodations without disclosing that you have ADHD, but you might also decide it's best to say something. Always try to get the accommodations yourself first. Come in early, stay late to avoid distractions, do the things that you can do that you're in control of. And then if you do have to talk to your supervisor, always frame the request from a position of strength rather than like bringing up your disability. So, instead of saying, I have a disability called ADHD, which makes it hard for me to remember things and follow through. It might be better if you said something like, I work best when I use a recording device to help me remember everything new until I get proficient. Instead of bringing up the law and saying, because that sounds threatening. Talk about what your strengths are and how you work best and things like that. So there's a lot more I could say about laws and that kind of thing. But if you want me to do a whole nother training on that, I can. But think through those situations for you that come up because of your ADHD at work, and think about what you can do to just little tweaks here and there that you can do to help eliminate some of those stresses that you're feeling. And again, shameless plug, I have a great group coaching program. It's the ultimate ADHD success blueprint that we follow. I call it the 3P power plan. It stands for positive, prepared, productive. And I do have openings now. I'm just signing new people up. I have a lot of bonuses that I've been offering and different things like that. So if that's something that you're curious about, even if you're just curious, right? Let's talk. Go ahead and reach out to me. Let me know that you're interested in coaching and that you want to book a Zoom call, and I'll send you my calendar link. We'll connect. It's just a conversation. I don't want anybody to join my program that I haven't talked with first, because it's not for everybody. And I also don't want anybody in the program that feels like they were talked into it. So that's why I like to just relieve all stress, take away all uncertainty, because you have a conversation, you get all your questions answered. I get to find out more about you. And that way, when you join, you're confident that you're making the right decision. And it is such a great program, life-changing for so many people. I've got lots of testimonials, and we basically cover every aspect of your life that's affected by ADHD. We talk about, I have a membership portal with training in the areas of mindset, time management, clutter, interpersonal relationships, boundaries, decision-making, handling finances, organizing your papers, decluttering your digital environment, planning, all of that kind of stuff. And we meet regularly on Zoom for accountability and support and live training. I do live training as well. And the members get in a VIP group called Focus and Flow, which is a paid membership, but they get it free while they're in coaching. So many great things. And I can tell you more about it on Zoom. So just let me know, put in the comments. I'm interested in a Zoom call, or I'm interested in coaching. I'm not going to message you the information. I really just would rather have a personal conversation. And so I hope that was helpful. Take one or two of those little tips and put them into practice. If you're in my Focus and Flow group, you're going to get a few more tips added as well, because you get extra. And I hope you have a great Monday, and I'll see you next time.